Good morning, ma'am.
Am I audible to you? Am I?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Last class I told you regarding the neonatal maternal mortality, okay, and stillbirths, fetal deaths, early neonatal mortality, that is perinatal mortality, early neonatal, and the late neonatal, etc. Okay. So maternal mortality rate is different. Maternal mortality ratio is different. Maternal mortality ratio means number of maternal deaths by number of live births. Okay. I told already regarding the definition of maternal mortality, and the maternal mortality ratio rate means the number of maternal deaths by number of deaths of reproductive age group of women. That is called maternal mortality rate. Ratio means the numerator is different, denominator is different. So that is the number of maternal deaths within 42 days of termination of pregnancy, etc., by number of live births in 2000. Okay. So don't be confused with the maternal mortality rate and ratio. Okay, now we are going to have this neonatal mortality. I told already last time the neonatal mortality, that is deaths that occur between the birth to 28 days. Okay, so in the neonatal mortality, the early neonatal, late neonatal mortality. Okay, and early neonatal means deaths that occur within the 7 days, and the late neonatal means from 7th birth to 28 days. If deaths occur, that is called the late neonatal mortality rate. Okay, well, I told already regarding the causes for neonatal mortality, that is low birth weight, birth injuries and difficult labor, congenital anomalies, hemolytic diseases, and conditions of a placenta and a cord, and diarrheal diseases, and acute respiratory tract infections, and tetanus, etc. Today, now I am going to tell regarding the post-neonatal mortality. So here, the post-neonatal mortality means deaths that occur from 28 days of delivery, when the baby born, to 1 year. Okay, don't be confused. It is post-neonatal mortality. That is from 28 days to 1 year. So, what are the causes for post-neonatal mortality? So, the main cause is diarrheal diseases. If you see, the 71% of neonatal deaths are mainly due to post-neonatal deaths are due to diarrheal disease. And and then the 53% of deaths are due to acute respiratory tract infections and other communicable diseases like malaria and infections, etc. And malnutrition and congenital anomalies and accidents. These are the causes for post-neonatal mortality. Okay, today now we are going to take the main thing is the infant mortality. Okay, that is the infants that are born from birth to 1 year is called the infant, and those who died between from birth to 1 year is infant mortality. Of course, the infant, as we know, the infant mortality mainly due to lack of deliveries conducted by the trained bias, that is not observing the 5 cleans, and lack of big family size, or lack of healthcare delivery system which are available to those people. So they are more prone for infant mortality. If we divide the causes for infant mortality, three causes we can tell, that is, first one is biological factors, second one is economic factors, and the third one is cultural and social factors. So there are three factors we can classify the infant mortality. First one is biological factors, second one is economical factors, and cultural and social factors. Under the biological factors, birth weight. The infant mortality you can see, if the birth weight is less than 2.5 kgs, that is a low birth weight babies, and if the birth weight is more than 4 kgs, more than 4 kgs is also prone for mortality. So birth weight is very, very important. Low birth weight babies are prone for mortality. And the second one is age of the mother. If the mother's age is less than 19 years, or if the mother's age is more than 30 years, of that age, children, infants are die in these because of number thing is the system is not completely developed or properly developed. If the mother's age is less than 19 years, and if the age is more than 30 means elderly priming or more, so maybe CPDs or any anomalies may prone for infant mortality. So age of the mother is very, very important, which leads to infant mortality. And the third one is birth spacing. If the birth spacing is very short, if you see 2 to 3 times, infant mortality occurs if the birth space is less than 2 years. So there should be the birth space should be 2 to 3 years between one child to another child. If the birth space is less than 2 years, so the infant mortality is one of the factor for the infant mortality. So that's why there are 2 to 3 times more deaths occur if the birth space is less than 2 years. And then multiple births, that is twins and quadruplets, triplets, etc. If there are more multiple births, multiple babies, infants are prone for mortality. And even the multiple births, the number of and then family size, more number of children, because of they're not going to have the concentration on the child, so that the baby may die of malnutrition. So big family size, or the baby may die of acute diarrheal disease and acute respiratory tract infections. So big family size, multiple births, okay, and then these are the some factors leads to infant mortality. And high fertility. So if you see, the infant mortality rate is comparatively the 2 to 3 times high if the mother is having more than 5 children. Okay, and even if the mother is having the first child prone for mortality, comparatively, if you compare the second child, the first child is prone for mortality, then compare with the second child and the third child. So mortality is high even in after the fifth child or 5 children, fifth child, etc. So high fertility is also one of the factor for the infant mortality. So the infant mortality rate is the essay question for you. You please be read properly and understand what are the points you have to go. You have to write in the essay question. Okay, and then economic factors. Economic factors are availability of health services. So the infant mortality rate is the sensitive indicator that how much healthcare services are going on in that community. So lack of healthcare services is one of the factor for infant mortality. And socio-economic status. If you see, the infant mortality is very high in developing countries compared to developed countries. Okay, in developing countries, the infant mortality is 88 per thousand. Previously, it was 140, and it was 240 per thousand live births previously, and then later in 19th century it became 140 per thousand now live births. Now it is 88 per thousand live births. Whereas in developed countries, the infant mortality is only the 5 per thousand live births. So that is the significant change in the developed countries and the developing countries. This is mainly due to lack of healthcare services, which leads to infant mortality, especially if the child is if it is if mother had a delivery in the house conducted by the untrained dayas. If anything happens in CPD, etc. If anything happens at the time of the delivery, if the healthcare delivery system is not available for them, so they are prone for mortality. And then cultural and social factors. So the third one is, which leads to infant mortality, is cultural and social factors. Breastfeeding is very, very important. Already, I told already. So the breastfeeding itself, which contains the antibodies and the immunizing factors, which help the infant. So the lack of breastfeeding is one of the cause for infant mortality, and early weaning is the one of the cause for infant mortality. And then and the religion, of course, some people, those who are of some customs and then religions, in their religion, they are not going to feed the baby. They first milk the colostrum, which is very, very important, which contains antigens and antibodies, which prevents mortality, especially which protect the child from acute diarrheal diseases and acute respiratory tract infections. Because of the lack of the, because in the some religion people, where the colostrum they won't feed to the baby, that is the one of the cause for the infant mortality. And then early marriages. If the mother child married less than 19 years of age, so the infant mortality is very, very high. Some Kanna studies shows that the early marriages, the infant mortality is high in early marriages with women. And then gender discrimination. You see here, the in the first neonatal period, the male children are dying high compared with the female children, because their male children are very fragile compared with the female children in the early times. Whereas in late infant mortality, in the infant mortality, if you see, the female children dies rather than the male children, because of unwelcome of the female child, not taking much care by the mother because of a female child, etc. Some studies shows that lack of care taken by the mother on the female child, that is prone for mortality. So gender discrimination. Okay, and then quality of mother. If the mother is the quality of mothering means, so though some of the mothers, even though they are uneducated, they know how to take care of the child. So here the quality of mothering means they give unnecessarily the early weaning, and then giving the bottle feed to the babies, which prone for acute diarrheal disease, which leads to mortality. So the quality of mothering is very, very important. And then personal hygiene, the mother that takes place and that takes the importance on the child, etc. And then maternal education. If the mother is educated, so an educated mother will postpone the early marriages to some extent. So educated mothers, they know the spacing of the birth, from first birth to second birth, etc., and they can have the idea regarding the spacing and family planning methods, etc., and they are having an idea regarding the how to rear the children, etc. So maternal education play an important role to prevent infant mortality. And then quality of health care. So quality of healthcare that is available to the nearest places, that is the very, very important. So educate them that it is better to have a delivery in the institutions rather than the home deliveries. So in the institutions, the quality of healthcare will be there. So it is the sensitive individuals to know how much healthcare delivery system is going on in their locality. So that is the quality of healthcare is important. And then broken families. Broken families, if the mother or a father dies, so the care of the child will be less compared to both of them are alive. So that is the broken families or divorced families are the infant mortality is very high in broken families. And habits and customs, that is the habits and customs means the not giving the colostrum to the baby and branding the baby. They are having some habits and customs regarding, especially the uneducated mother, so branding the baby, etc. So those are prone for infant mortality. So that is the not giving the colostrum. Some colostrum which having the high antibodies, which increases the immunity system to the infant, but because of their habits and customs, they are divided of deprived of giving the colostrum, etc. First, and then not giving the milk to some extent, they will give only the sugar water to the baby. If you observe in an educated mother, if they conduct the delivery in the home, no, they will give only the sugar water to the baby for about 2 3 days. That itself leads to diarrhea, and that itself leads to malnutrition. So that is the customs of habits of the mother. And then untrained dai. If the mother had delivery in the home conducted by the untrained dai, they are prone for malnutrition, that is prone for infections, pectoral infection, which itself leads to infant mortality. That is unclean by observing the unclean services, unclean to five cleans, and applying the cow dung to the umbilical cord, which leads to infection to the baby. So they are prone for infant mortality. And then bad environmental sanitation. So and that it is the bad environmental sanitation itself leads to infant mortality because of lack of environmental sanitation, lack of um, uncleaned water, and then a lack of cleaned food, etc. And most of the flies, lack of sanitation. These are all the which leads to acute diarrheal diseases and deaths, acute respiratory tract infections and deaths. So these are the causes for infant mortality. Okay, so the causes for infant mortality: biological factors, economical factors, and cultural and social factors. Okay, and then the preventive measures, prevention and the social measures of the infant mortality. That is prenatal nutrition. That is during the pregnancy, the mother requires very good nutrition. So I told already, the mother will provide in every Anganwadi centers 500 calories and 10 grams of protein to all the antenatal mother if the mother is malnourished. So the prenatal nutrition is very, very important. Now our government is giving one boiled egg and 1 glass of milk to all the antenatal mothers. Thereby, we can improve the nutrition status to some extent. And the prevention of infection. If the mother is having any infection by doing the blood for VDRL or malaria, etc. So, and HIV infections, etc. All these are during the antenatal period, the infection should be controlled by giving antibiotics to certain extent. And then breastfeeding. So, encourage the breastfeeding to all the mothers immediately after delivery. I told already, within 15 minutes, within half an hour, we can encourage the mother to give breast milk to the baby. And in normal delivery, if it is a section, because mother is in a sedation stage, she may give within 1.5 hours. So at least she has to give the breastfeeding to all the babies. So the cholesterol should be fed to the baby, thereby we can improve the immunity. So breastfeeding and the weaning should be completed by the say up to sixth month. The baby requires only breast milk. Early weaning leads to mortality. So encourage the mother not to have an early weaning. And growth monitoring. So I told already regarding the growth chart. Growth monitoring is the simple technique, the least technique to know the how the infant is growing. So that is weighing the mother, weighing the baby every month, weighing the baby for and then weigh for 1 year, and then every 2 months and 2 years, every 3 months up to 5 years. So thereby we can monitor the growth and plot on the growth chart. There every mother is having a growth chart in their card. So just plot on the chart in their card and identify whether there is any fall in the weight gain in the baby. There we can monitor the growth of the baby by weighing and taking the height and weight. And then family planning. So family planning, the space between the two first and the second child is very, very important. They have to observe the family planning methods, thereby the nutrition status of the baby. If the early pregnancy may lead to not taking much care on the first child. So that is the more important. So family planning is very, very important to prevent the infant mortality. And sanitation, that is environmental sanitation, is an important thing to prevent mortality. and provision of primary health care. Provision of primary health care should be at least 5 kilometers surrounding the house. So that is the provision of the primary health care is important for them. And then socio-economic development. Socio-economic development means the regarding then the education, socio-economic, what the personal and the nutritional status of the baby should be improved. And then weaning period, post-weaning period, the child requires not only the breast milk, the child requires extra calories of food. That is a mashed rice, dal, and vegetables extra. And then socio-economic development means the development of the baby by giving the nutrition, by improving the nutrition status in the baby. And then education play an important role regarding the infant mortality. So the primary education, so if you see, observe the educated woman 3 to 5 times comparatively infant mortality is less in educated women compared with the uneducated women. So these are the important points regarding the prevention of infant mortality rate. And then 1 to 4 year mortality rate. It is the number of death of the children aged between 1 to 4 years of age per thousand live children in the same age group in a given year. So here, the number of deaths of the children between 1 to 4 years of age by total number of children of the same 1 to 4 years into 1,000. That is called the 1 to 4 year mortality rate. So here, the 1 to 4 years mortality rate, it reflects the adverse environmental health hazards. The adverse environmental health hazards are malnutrition, poor hygiene, infections, and accidents. If you see, 1 to 4 years of children are prone for malnutrition, and if the personal hygiene or environmental sanitation is poor, they are prone for respiratory tract infections and also the measles, etc., and the malaria, etc., and then accidents. That 1 to 4 years of children are more prone for accidents, either in the home accidents or in the form of road traffic accidents. And economic and educational and cultural characters of the family. So cultural characteristics means the regarding the food food pattern, how to feed the baby, and regarding the how to start the weaning period, and how to rear the children is the cultural some cultural factors in the family. The highest risk of dying is in the second year because if you see the 1 to 4 years of children dies, here the highest risk of dying is in second year especially because measles, whooping cough, diphtheria, diarrhea, acute respiratory tract infection, which affects mostly in this age group. To prevent all these things, we can have an expanded program of immunization that is in 1984. They have started. Now it is the immunization program where 9 diseases can be controlled by giving the immunization in the children, and it was 30 per thousand in developing countries previously and less than 1 per thousand in developed countries. If you see the 1.4 mortality, 1 to 4 mortality rate, here in developing countries, the mortality rate is 30 per thousand livers, whereas in developed countries, it is less than 1 per thousand livers. So, such a vast difference between developed countries and developing countries. What are the leading causes for death in developing countries are why the death rate is very high in developing countries compared with the developed countries. Here, the leading cause of deaths in the developing countries are acute diarrheal diseases and acute respiratory tract infection. The acute diarrheal disease is lack of personal hygiene, malnutrition, etc., and acute respiratory tract infections and malnutrition. And infectious diseases, that is the malaria, etc., and other diseases and accidents, and then injuries, etc. These are all the causes for 1 to 4 mortality rate. In developed countries, the leading cause for deaths are accidents and congenital anomalies and malignant neoplasms, influenza, and pneumonia. Okay, in the developed countries, the leading causes for death are accidents, congenital anomalies, malignant neoplasms, influenza, and pneumonia. Okay, these are the causes for an 1 to 4 mortality rate in children. Okay, under 5 mortality rate. That is number of deaths of children less than 5 years of age group by number of live births in 2000 is the under 5 mortality rate. Here, the under 5 mortality rate, right, if you see the global and on average, it was 82 per thousand live births, whereas in developing countries, it is 158 per thousand live births, that is 7 per thousand live births. So in India, it is 93 per thousand live births. Now it is 88 per thousand live births. Okay, in India, it is calculated per thousand under 5 years of children. So the child survival index is 1000 minus under 5 mortality rate by 10. That is child survival index. Okay. In India, so I told already the under 5 mortality, it is only 88 per thousand live births in India. And it was calculated the by child survival index, that is 1000 minus under 5 mortality by 110. So the under 5 mortality is mainly through breastfeeding. We can improve the under 5 mortality rate. We can prevent the under 5 mortality by breastfeeding, encourage the breastfeeding, early breastfeeding, adequate nutrition, clean water, and immunization program, and oral rehydration therapy, and birth spacing of the virtual revolution, the child survival can be achieved. Okay, I told already the immunization program, the 9 diseases can be prevented by giving the immunization. And the clean water, that is a clean water mainly caused by the unclean water is main cause for the diarrheal disease, and adequate nutrition. The malnutrition itself leads to diarrhea and respiratory infection. Those can be prevented by adequate nutrition. And then the immunization, that is now we are having a 100% immunization program in every areas. There we can prevent 9 diseases. And what are the 9 diseases? 9 diseases under the immunization program: BCG, DPT, hepatitis B, rotavirus, and then the measles. Okay, and then vitamin A solution also. These are all the things which prevent the mortality in the children by giving the immunization. Okay, the next one is congenital malformations. So congenital malformation, you may get the short notes as a congenital malformation. It is defined as the diseases that are substantially determined before or during the birth and which are recognizable in early life. So congenital malformations means defined as those diseases that are substantially determined before or during the birth, which are recognizable in early life. They are easily recognizable in early life. If you recognize in the early life, if you correct those malformations, we can prevent some of the anomalies, some of the deaths due to anomalies. That is, first one is the cleft palate. So it is very obvious at birth. We can easily recognize the cleft palate. If you correct the cleft palate and the cleft lip, so that the feeding may be improved, so the nutrition status may be improved, the deaths due to abnormalities can be prevented. And then congenital dislocation of hip. It is detected early in early life. Okay, congenital, if you detect the early life, you correct the dislocation. So the permanent abnormality, handicap can be prevented by correction the congenital dislocation of hip in the at the time of delivery. And then patent ductus arteriosus and some inborn errors, metabolism like phenylketonuria, Tay-Sachs disease, galactosemia, and mental retardation. So it is if the mother is having some inborn metabolic disorders, supposed to prevent the not to have the pregnancy. These are the complications of it. And the incidence rate, if we see 30 to 70 per thousand labors globally, the most common congenital malformation are cardiovascular system and central nervous system. These are so the incidence rate is 30 to 70 per thousand labors globally. Common causes for congenital malformations are cardiovascular system and central nervous system. In India, 2.5% of newborns are having birth defect. In North India, neural tubal defect or spina bifida. So we can prevent the neural tubal defect to some extent by giving folic acid tablets. So folic acid tablets prevents neural tubal defect in the children. So in India, it was 2.5% of newborns have birth defect. And the highest frequency are noted in the Punjab, that is 1 in 116 birth defects, and the lowest frequency is in Calcutta. So, what are the causes for genetic factors, congenital malformations? The first one is causes for congenital malformations are chromosomal abnormalities, that is Down syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome, Turner syndrome, etc. First one is chromosomal abnormalities. So congenital malformation is the short notes. The causes for congenital malformation is genetic factor, chromosomal abnormalities, that is the Down syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome, and Turner syndrome. And the second factor, the second one is inborn error metabolism, that is PKU and Tay Sachs disease and galactosemia. The inborn errors of metabolism, PKU, Tay Sachs disease, and galactosemia. And others are single gene disorders which are dominant, that is phenylketonuria. PKU means phenylketonuria, Tay Sachs disease, and galactosemia. And others are single gene disorders which are dominant, that is Huntington's chorea. These are the single gene disorder. And the recessive disorders are thalassemia. It is the recessive group of genetic disorder, thalassemia, sickle cell disorder, and the sickle cell linked disorder, hemophilia. Thalassemia, hemophilia, and sickle cell disorder. And those with the probable or possible genetic etiology are, which leads to congenital dislocation of hip, club foot, and neural tubal defect. They are with a probable or possible genetic etiology. Genetic etiology means if there is any history of genetic etiology, if there is any history, family history of genetic etiology, so you can one of the cause for congenital malformation like congenital dislocation of hip, club foot, and a neural tubal defect. And environmental factors are intrauterine infections, that is rubella. Rubella itself causes congenital anomalies. I told already that is a congenital heart disease or congenital cataract. Okay, these are the causes for if the mother had rubella infection in first trimester. 17% of babies will develop the congenital cataract or deaf mutism and congenital heart disease, etc. So if the mother had a rubella, we had to monitor the baby till 5 years. Thereby we can see what are the complications in the having the in that baby. Cytomegalovirus, toxoplasmosis, and syphilis. If the mother is having a syphilis, so we are doing conducting blood for VDRL in the antenatal period. But up to 4 months, the baby may not transmit the infection from mother to child, the syphilitic infection, because of it will prevent the transmission of infection from mother to child up to 4 months. And that is after that, if the mother is having the syphilitic infection, we have to give antibiotic penicillin injection, the 6 lakhs international daily Precan penicillin for about 10 days. Thereby we can prevent the infection in the mother. That are the intrauterine infections: rubella, cytomegalovirus infection, toxoplasmosis, and syphilis. And then drugs, some drugs. if the mother takes some drugs during the antenatal period, that is the thalidomide, stilbestrol, anticonvulsants, alcohol, and anesthetics. If the mother takes the stilbestrol to prevent threatened abortions, they are prone to get malignancy if the baby is a female child. So it was some study was done during the in the antenatal period. If the mother is taking the stilbestal to prevent threatened abortions, the child, female child, if there is a female child, she may be prone for the tumors, malignancy, especially vaginal malignancy, etc. And the thalidomide, if the mother is taking thalidomide, they are prone for congenital anomalies in the baby and anticonvulsants. And the alcohol, I told already the alcoholic syndrome, where the baby may develop congenital anomalies. The IQ will be very, very less. Some anesthetics, if you take, there will be the respiratory depressed seed in the baby. And the maternal diseases are complicated by the pregnancy, that is diabetes, cardiac failure, and irradiation, and dietary factors. These are all the some of the maternal diseases which complicates by pregnancy. The diabetes, cardiac failure, irradiation, and dietary factors, etc. These are the environmental factors in the which causes in malformations. And the risk factors are maternal age, advanced maternal age, that is elderly pregnancy, more than 30 years of age, prone for mental retardation baby. So advanced maternal age is the risk factor for the mental baby. And consanguinate marriages. Consanguinity marriages, that is a high incidence of mental retardation you can see in the consanguinated marriages and congenital malformations. You can see the congenital malformations in consanguinated marriages. That is a first level consanguination, second level consanguination, etc. The close relations, that is the uncles from mother's side and the father's side. So they're prone for congenital anomalies in the baby. These are the risk factors. And prenatal diagnosis, first of all, we have to diagnose the in the mother during the antenatal period. First one is the alpha feta protein. The neural tubal defect can be detected by measuring the alpha feta protein in the maternal blood and in amniotic fluid during pregnancy. The prenatal diagnosis is measure the alpha feta protein. So, in the neural tubal defect can be detected by measuring the alpha feta protein in maternal blood and in amniotic fluid during the pregnancy. If it is high, so it is better to terminate the pregnancy rather than having the with neural tubal defect baby. And ultrasound visualize the fetus and detect the any abnormality. You can identify, you can diagnose by doing ultrascan. So you can visualize the fetus and you can visualize the abnormalities in the fetus. And amniocentesis is done in the second trimester to detect neural tubal defect and Down syndrome, etc. Amniocentesis. So these are the prenatal diagnosis. Prenatal diagnosis are measurement of alpha feta protein by doing ultrasound and by doing amniocentesis in second trimester, we can we can diagnose neural tubal defect and the Down syndrome, etc. And also chorionic village sampling, which is done at the early eighth week of the pregnancy. So sex of the fetus and the chromosome status can be determined. Chorionic village sampling should be done. And prevention, how to prevent it? By discouraging the further reproduction after birth of the malformed child. The best thing is discourage further reproduction after birth of the malformed child. Then I have seen the malignancy of the eye in one child, in one family. First child was born with the malignancy of the eye, that is retinoblastoma. And again, In the second child also they had the same problem, same tumor, retinoblastoma in the second child also. So it's a unbearable thing to the parents. It's better to stop having the reproduction in those type of families. And then avoidance of pregnancy where the malformations are likely to occur. That is the advanced maternal age. As I told already, the advanced maternal age mother will have the mental retardation child. So avoid the pregnancy where the malformations are likely to occur, especially in advanced maternal age. And identification and removal of certain drugs, that is thalidomide, steroid hormones, folate antagonists, and infective agents, and unnecessary exposure to X-rays. Identification and removal of certain drugs will prevent congenital malformation. That is regarding the congenital malformations. And the next one is the school health services. It is school health services, we get as a short notes. Health services is an economical and powerful means of raising the community health and the future generation. Here, the first time of medical examination the school children was carried out in Baroda city in 1909. The school health services is we have to examine all the school children and identify any abnormality in the child. That is vitamin A deficiency, something like that, any congenital cataracts, etc., and then vision defect, etc. And by observing all this, by examining all the school children, we can identify and we can give the proper treatment. In 1953, the School Education Committee emphasized the need for medical examination of the people and the school feeding program. And examine the school children if the school children is having any malnutrition, that is vitamin A deficiency, that is the presence of beta spots in the eyes. So providing giving the vitamin A to those children, we can improve the vitamin A deficiency to some extent. Otherwise, the child may goes into corneal infection due to vitamin A deficiency, which itself leads to permanent blindness. And the Government of India constituted the School Health Committee to assess the standards of the school health problems. So, what are the main health problems in the school children? Main health problems in the school children are malnutrition, infectious diseases, intestinal parasites, and then diseases of the skin and eye and ear and dental caries. Here, malnutrition, that's why our government is providing a midday meal to all the children to improve the nutrition. So, in the midday meal, they are giving the calories, that is 400 calories and 10 to 20 grams of protein in the form of egg and also the protein diet, etc. Infectious diseases, that is, if the child is having any infections, during the school health program, by by examining the children if they are having the infections, so you can control these infections by giving the treatment. And intestinal parasites, it is better to give all the students the deworming, thereby we can prevent the intestinal parasites, deworming the children at the time of school children examination. And diseases of the skin, of course, we can see the more number of children are having the scabies and the lice, infections, etc. These scabies itself leads to, that is, scabies are due to if there is any secondary infection, streptococcal infection, which itself leads to heart diseases. So that's why identify the skin diseases, give proper treatment, and eye diseases, if there is any conjunctivitis, any other bacterial or viral conjunctivitis, treat the eye, otherwise the child will become permanent blind. And then ear diseases, if the child is having any ear defect, that is it can be treated by giving a or in, some audio implantations, audio implants. Dental caries we can see in the children, so that itself leads to infection, which carries from dental to tonsils, from there to heart, leads to heart disease, rheumatic fevers, etc. So the dental caries should be identified at the time of examination. And the objectives of the school health program is promotion of positive health, prevention of these diseases, early diagnosis and treatment, follow-up and defects, and awakening the health consciousness in the children and the provision of healthful environment. And school health services. What are the aspects of school health services? Health appraisal of the school children and school personnel. Health appraisal, that is, especially during in the school, the school teacher, the class teacher is in a position to identify the any abnormality in the child. If the child is having any fever or something like that. So health appraisal of the school children and school personnel by the school personnel, and remedial measures and follow up if the child is having any infections. So we have to do the remedial measures in the follow up and the prevention of communicable diseases, especially. So our the India is an endemic for malarial disease. So if the child are any tuberculosis infections, etc. So if you identify an early stage, so you can refer the cases to the medical officer. Thereby, they will give the treatment. Healthful school environment and nutritional services and first aid and emergency care and mental health. And I told already the dental health, eye health, and the health education, education of the handicapped children, and the proper maintenance and the use of the health records. So these are all the measurements in the school health program. Now, of course, I told already the health appraisal. What is meant by a health appraisal? Health appraisal means periodic medical examination. First of all, the class teacher will identify any abnormality in the child. If the child is having any fever or any conjunctivitis or any skin infections, etc. The period and then refer the periodic medical examination and the school personnel and the daily morning inspection and etc. In the remedial measures, a special clinic should be conducted exclusively for the children at PHC and in one of the selected schools or the dispensaries for a group of about 5,000 children in urban areas. And prevention of communicable diseases by giving the immunization against the common communicable diseases in that area, and a healthful school environment, that is the location and the site, the gardening and environmental sanitation, provision of drinking water, potable drinking water, and the sanitary toilets, the sanitary measures, etc. And classrooms, well ventilated classrooms, and through and through ventilation, and then good furniture and doors and windows, proper doors and windows, coloring of the school inside the school classroom, proper lighting and water supply, eating facilities, etc. So these are all regarding the school health program. So to up to that, I will stop all these programs, that is infant mortality and congenital anomalies. School health program are the very important thing. Infant mortality you may get as an essay question, congenital anomalies you may get as in a short notes, and the school health program you may get as a essay question are the short notes. You have to write in detail regarding all these things. The next class I will tell you regarding the integrated management of neonatal and child illness. It is better to read before I teach the class so that you can easily understand the points. It is very important because the community medicine is a very dry subject. You have to read regularly. Okay, thank you very much.